Welcome to the deep dive.
Great to be diving in again.
Today, we're tackling a story from the ancient texts. It gives this really fascinating insight into detachment.
And into the life of a major figure, right?
Yeah.
Mahākassapa Thera, one of the Buddha's chief disciples.
Exactly. We're looking at some specific excerpts, source texts, that tell a story about him and a Dharma talk the Buddha gave.
This was in Veluvana near Rājagaha, a well-known spot in the scriptures.
And the core of it, really, it revolves around one particular verse.
And the whole situation that led up to the Buddha speaking it really gets to the heart of what being unattached means.
So think of this as, us unpacking that narrative together.
Pulling out those nuggets of wisdom directly from the sources.
Okay, let's get into it. Where does the story kick off?
Right, so the scene is set. The Buddha's just finished the rainy season retreat. He's residing in Veluvana, near the city of Rājagaha.
Okay, end of the retreat.
And then the Buddha makes an announcement. He tells the monks he's planning a journey, a charika, the texts call it.
A teaching tour, basically.
Pretty much. And he gives them notice about half a month, the sources say.
And there was a reason for that lead time, right?
Yeah, it was standard practice.
Yeah.
A custom for Buddhas. It gave the monks, time to get their things in order.
Like what kind of things?
Their robes, making sure they were clean, maybe dyeing them, getting their bowls ready, just the practicalities for travel.
Got it. So monks are busy getting packed, essentially.
Right. But then there's Mahākassapa, the venerable Mahākassapa Thera.
And what's he doing while everyone else is prepping for the road?
He's seen washing his robes.
Just washing his robes?
Yeah. And this causes a bit of a stir among some of the other monks.
I noticed him.
Oh, yeah. And they started talking amongst themselves, criticizing him, actually.
What were they saying?
Things like, hey, why is the elder washing robes? Isn't he planning on going with the teacher on this journey? They were skeptical.
And why were they so skeptical? Did they think he wouldn't go?
Exactly. They pointed to how incredibly popular and well-supported Mahākassapa was right there in Rājagaha.
Popular how?
Immensely. The sources mention this huge number, 18 kodis of people.
18 kodis. What does that even mean?
A kodi is like 10 million. So 180 million people. It's probably a way of saying a vast, vast number of people.
Okay, so a massive support base.
Massive. Inside the city, outside the city. Relatives, devoted supporters, people who provided him with everything a monk needs.
The four requisites.
That's it. Food, robes, a place to stay, medicine. And not just provided, but gave them with, real honor and deep respect.
So the other monks are thinking.
They're thinking, why would he leave all that? He's got it made here. He must be attached to this comfortable setup, this respect.
Ah, so they assumed his connection to these people and resources meant he was, clinging to them.
Precisely. So they made a prediction.
Which was?
That he wouldn't actually go far on the journey. Maybe just a little way out of the city.
Like a token effort.
Sort of. They even named a specific place. The Dhammapada Commentary.
Okay, what's the significance of that place, according to the source?
Well, the text describes it as this gorge, a kind of landmark, where the Buddha apparently often told certain monks to turn back.
Turn back? Why?
Maybe monks who weren't quite ready for the rigors of the full journey, or perhaps needed to stay closer for their practice. The Buddha would say something like, okay, you should turn back from here. Don't be heedless. Keep up your practice.
So by saying Kassapa would only go that far, the monks were basically saying...
They were implying he was still attached, attached enough that he couldn't really leave his comfortable situation behind. He'd get to that turn-back point and then head home to Rājagaha, like those other monks.
Okay, so that's the monk's perspective, based on appearances and assumptions.
Right. But then the story shifts.
Yeah.
The Buddha himself is preparing to leave for the journey. And he pauses. He considers the situation back in Rājagaha.
What about it?
He realizes, the city can't just be left empty. You need senior monks there.
For the lay community.
Exactly. For the people. The source mentions monks being needed for auspicious and inauspicious occasions, life events, ceremonies, support.
Makes sense. So someone senior needed to stay.
Yes. And the Buddha thinks about who would be the most suitable person to ask.
And who does he land on?
He realizes that since all those people in Rājagaha, those 18 kodis, were specifically Kassapa's relatives and supporters.
Ah, it makes perfect sense to ask him.
It's the most appropriate choice. So the Buddha finds Mahākassapa.
And tells him directly.
Yes. He addresses him saying something like, Kassapa, look, the monastery here can't be left empty. Monks are needed for the people's occasions. You should return with your group of monks.
Asking him to stay behind with an assembly.
Right. And Mahākassapa's response.
What did he say?
Very simple, very direct. According to the source, Subi Bhante.
Bhante meaning venerable sir. Just acceptance.
Total acceptance. And he immediately turned back with the monks assigned to stay. No argument, no hesitation.
Okay, now, what about those other monks? The ones who were gossiping earlier.
Well, when they saw Kassapa actually turning back.
They must have thought, see? We were right.
Exactly. They started murmuring again, complaining. See, friends, didn't we say it? Didn't we predict he wouldn't go with the teacher because he's attached? And look, it happened.
They felt completely vindicated.
They really did. But then,
Here comes the twist.
here comes the real teaching moment. The Buddha apparently overheard this chatter.
He heard them talking about Kassapa being attached.
Seems so. He stopped the procession, stood there, and asked them point blank, what were you just talking about?
Uh-oh. Busted.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So the monks, maybe nervously, explain. They say, well, Bhante, we were just discussing Mahākassapa Thera and how we saw him as being attached to families and requisites, clinging to his supporters and the stuff they gave him.
Okay, laying their judgment out there.
Yes. But the Buddha immediately set them straight. He told them flat out they were wrong. Kassapa didn't turn back because of attachment. He turned back for one reason only. Because he said, I will do my master's bidding.
Wow. Pure obedience and duty, not clinging.
Exactly. It completely reframed Kassapa's action. And then the Buddha went deeper.
Deeper how?
He revealed something about Kassapa's inner state, something rooted way, way back in the past.
What was that?
He explained that in a previous life, an incredibly long time ago, Kassapa had actually made a powerful aspiration, a formal wish.
A wish for what?
To be completely unattached to the four requisites: food, robes, lodging, medicine. To be like the moon, sailing through the sky, unaffected.
Unattached like the moon.
But, and this is key, while being unattached, he also wished to still be able to visit families, to interact with people without getting caught up, without being ensnared by those connections.
That's a subtle but important distinction. Interaction without entanglement?
Precisely. So the Buddha declared to the monks very clearly, there is no attachment for him in families or in requisites. Full stop.
Undercutting their whole assumption.
Completely. And he didn't stop there. He linked Kassapa directly to some of his own core teachings.
Which ones?
He mentioned two specific paths or sets of principles. The Chenapalma path.
Which means like the moon. Fits the aspiration.
Exactly. And the Aryavamsa. The lineage or traditions of the noble ones. The Buddha said that when he taught these profound ways of practice, he actually started with Kassapa.
Meaning Kassapa was the prime example, the embodiment.
That's the implication. He was the living illustration of these deep teachings on non-attachment and noble conduct.
This must have really piqued the monks' curiosity about that past life wish.
It did. They asked the Buddha, when? When did the elder make this incredible aspiration?
Did the Buddha tell them?
He did. After confirming they wanted to hear, he recounted the whole story. It started with the wish being made during the time of a previous Buddha, Buddha Padumuttara,
Okay.
100,000 kappas ago.
Whoa, 100,000 kappas. That's almost unimaginable time. An eon, right?
Exactly. Immense cycles of time. The Buddha noted the full story was detailed elsewhere in the Therapali text scriptures about the elder monks. But the point here was the sheer depth and history of Kassapa's commitment to non-attachment.
So bringing it back to the present moment in the story.
Right. The Buddha circled back.
Yeah.
He reiterated that he taught those key paths, the moon-like path and the noble lineage, starting with his son, Kassapa. He used that familial term.
Emphasizing the closeness and Kassapa's embodiment of the teaching.
Yes. And stressed again, his son has zero attachment, not to requisites, not to families, not to monasteries, not even to his dwelling place. None.
And then came an analogy.
A really beautiful and powerful one. He compared Mahākassapa, his son, to a royal swan.
A swan. Why a swan?
Think about a swan in a swamp. A palala, the text calls it. It enters the swamp, it lives there for a bit, maybe eats there.
Okay.
But then when it leaves, it just flies away. No attachment. It doesn't look back thinking, oh, my swamp.
It just moves through it, uses it, and leaves freely.
Precisely. Total freedom, no clinging. And right after painting this picture, the Buddha uttered the verse that captures this whole essence.
The verse at the heart of the discourse.
Yes. Uyunjanti satimanto, nanikete ramantite, hamsava paralam hitva kamokam jahanti tetiti.
Okay, let's break that down. The sources explain it, right?
They do. First part, Uyunjanti satimanto.
What's that mean?
Thathamattu are the mindful ones. Specifically, it points to arahants, the fully liberated beings, who have really perfected mindfulness. And uyunjanti means they exert themselves, they strive.
Strive how?
They actively work with the qualities they've developed. Meditative states like jhana, insight like vipassana, they're constantly reviewing, entering, emerging, resolving, contemplating. It's an active, mindful engagement.
Got it. Active and mindful. What's next?
Na nikiteramantite. This means they do not delight in a home.
Home, like a physical house.
Not just physical. The word here is nikita, which relates to alaya. And alaya is the crucial term.
What does alaya mean in this context?
It means attachment, clinging, craving, the place where the mind settles out of desire or attachment. So they don't find delight or establish attachment in any such home.
Okay, no mental clinging to any base. Then comes the swan part.
Hamsava, which just means like swans. And the source actually points this out as the key phrase, the head of the discourse, the central analogy.
Right, and how does the source elaborate on that swan analogy?
It paints a clear picture. Think of any birds, swans included, feeding in a swampy area. When it's time to go, they don't get possessive.
They don't think my water, my lily pad.
Exactly. No, my this, my that. They just lift off, fly away, maybe play in the sky, without a single backward glance or lingering thought about the place they just left.
Complete non-attachment to the place.
Right. And in the same way, arahants like Mahākassapa, they might live somewhere, interact with families, receive support.
They function in the world.
Absolutely. But internally, mentally, they remain unattached. So when they leave a place, a monastery or residence, there's no thought of, oh, my monastery, my supporters, my dwelling.
They just leave.
They just leave, no looking back, no mental flinging, free like those swans.
Which leads to the last part of the verse.
Okamokam jahanti. This literally means they abandon okamoka.
And okamoka means?
The source defines it directly as attachment, or maybe the home built out of attachment. So the phrase means they abandon all attachment, they leave behind every single home or basis for clinging. They renounce it utterly.
Wow. That's a powerful image, leaving home after home, attachment after attachment.
It really is. Mentally freeing themselves completely.
And what happened after the Buddha gave this teaching, this verse and explanation?
The sources say it had a significant impact. Many people listening attained spiritual fruits.
Like what?
Like Sotapadhi, which is stream entry, the first stage of awakening. It means they got a direct glimpse of the true nature of things and were irreversibly on the path to liberation. Others likely attained higher stages too.
So the teaching really landed.
It clearly resonated deeply.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, this deep dive into Mahākassapa's story, it really hammers home that true liberation, true detachment, it's not really about where you are physically or what you possess.
It's not about isolating yourself.
No, it's about your state of mind. It's about being able to engage with the world, receive support, even have responsibilities, but remain inwardly free, unattached, like that swan moving through the swamp.
And it really flips the script on that initial judgment by the monks, doesn't it?
Completely. They saw outward circumstances, popularity, support, and assumed inner clinging.
Which is maybe an easy assumption for us to make too sometimes.
For sure. But the Buddha shows that Kassapa was the opposite, deeply detached internally, even while being highly respected and supported externally. He was just doing his duty, following the path.
He becomes this perfect example of that balance, striving in practice while interacting seamlessly.
Exactly. And that verse, the mindful exert themselves, they do not delight in a home. Like swans leaving a swamp, they abandon home after home. It just gives such a clear, powerful image.
A principle to really reflect on.
Definitely. And it kind of leaves us with a question, doesn't it?
It is.
If home alaya, okamoka, means attachment, clinging, what are the homes that we cling to?
You mean in our own lives, our own minds?
What are those things? Places, ideas, relationships, possessions where our minds settle in attachment. And thinking about the verse, how could cultivating that mindfulness, that mindful exertion, help us find maybe just a little bit of that swan-like freedom?
That ability to move through things without getting stuck.
Exactly. Something to maybe ponder as you go about your day.